Simon Jordan today was talking about what Pochettino has to do in order to match that expectation. He says he has to win something, has to win a trophy. What do you think about that? Do you think he has to win something, or would you take top 5 and no trophy next season?
It's so difficult because if I'm being rational and honest, I think I have to take what you've just put on the table there. I think I have to say, yes, top 5, Champions League football. That is a successful season. But that isn't in keeping with who we are. That isn't the traditions of Chelsea that's been built up over the past 2 decades. Chelsea, in fact, even longer than that, even in the late Bates era, into the Abramovich era, we were a team and a club that was so preoccupied by the acquisition of silverware. We were motivated only by a greedy pursuit of silverware. And I was very proud of that. Like Chelsea under any manager would always take every competition seriously. You know, the way other clubs maybe would prioritise certain competitions, or they would maybe be slightly disrespectful to, say, the League Cup, for example, play the youth team, play the kids, play the reserves. Chelsea never did that. We would go tooth and nail for every single trophy, and we were greedy, and that's why we were the most successful club, and in fact still are the most successful club over the past 2 decades. I don't know if I can hold this iteration of Chelsea to the standard that has been built up over that, say, 20-year period. When
you say this iteration of Chelsea, when you look at your squad currently, and look, we're at the start of we're kind of at the start of the transfer window. It's rumbling on a bit now, isn't it? And we're going to talk about some of the incomings for Chelsea in just a moment. But when you actually look at this squad currently, if you had to rate it from 1 to 10, where do you rate it?
At the moment, I think it's incredibly holy in terms of not in a religious sense. There are huge gaps
at the back
throughout.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really have a midfield. Like what I mean by that is we literally do not have. You know the way football fans speak. We often, like, rather colloquially go, "We don't have any." Yeah. What we mean by that is we don't rate the options that we have. Whereas at Chelsea, it isn't that. We do not have a midfield. You know, Kovacic is gone, Kante is gone, Mount has gone, Ruben Loftus-Cheek has gone. We actually don't have. You know, we've got Enzo Fernandez. We've also got Conor Gallagher. How highly people rate Conor Gallagher is obviously up for debate. And that's kind of it, unless we're going to put the faith in somebody like Carney Chukwuemeka, which doesn't really feel like a smooth option at the moment. Because the squad is so holy, as you said. So, yeah, if you were going to rank it 1 to 10, where would you actually... If you had to pick a number... At the moment. So it's going to be a harsh number at the moment because there's room to improve. At the moment, I think there are glaring issues with the squad, and therefore I'd say that at the moment it's probably a 6. You know something else that we are crucially in need of? Do you know what? If you look at the age of our squad, so you go Thiago Silva is 38 years old. The next person, the next oldest, Raheem Sterling, 28. Wow. And then it's kids, you know, then you're down to the 24-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Like what we do not have, and I think this is a prerequisite for any team that wants to succeed. What we don't have is, you know, the grisly 29-year-old who's going to drag you to victory, sometimes victory that you don't deserve. Just adopt a philosophy that says losing isn't an option. You know the way Steven Gerrard in his Pontwood, or Frank Lampard in his Pontwood, or Michael Ballack in his Pontwood? Yeah. We don't really have that at the moment. Like, we are lacking those crucial ingredients to succeed. Look, I think that we can rectify this, but unless we sort out our issues in goal, up front, and it's across the team, you know, like I was gonna try and prioritise here and make this a goalkeeping issue, or make this a centre forward issue, but it's actually, I'd say we need a signing per position. So 4 first team signings. We need a new goalkeeper. If Kepa Arrizabalaga is our number 1 going into the new season, it's effectively over before it's begun in terms of what we're hoping.
Though, isn't it?
It can't be. I don't believe that it is. I think that what we have to do, Ollie, is employ an element of critical thinking. Okay. Chelsea have a £70 million asset. Well, he's obviously not worth 70 million, but that's what Chelsea spent on it. Yeah. In a business sense, I'm going to now talk about business, right? I'm certainly not qualified to this, but I'm going to do my best. When you have a £70 million asset, your priority as a business is to protect and preserve the value in that asset.
I feel like I'm on Dragon's Den, by the way. Carry on.
If Chelsea were to say Mauricio Pochettino were to come out and say Kepa Arrizabalaga is surplus to requirements, we are going to go all out for a new goalkeeper, Andre Onana, before these Manchester United links hotted up. What that immediately does is it puts up the value of Onana, because Chelsea have said we explicitly want him, and it immediately depreciates any value in Kepa Arrizabalaga, because anyone that did want to sign him goes, well, you don't even want him.
So he's not going to start.
So I believe, maybe wrongly, but I believe that there's a little bit of cloak and dagger going on here, where Chelsea are saying, in exactly the way that Manchester United did with David De Gea.
Yeah.
You protect your asset. You go, no, he's our number one. So if you want to buy him, you've got to pay proper money because he's our number one. But that doesn't actually mean that he is our number one.
And you think that's what they're doing with Kepa? That's interesting.
They have to be, because do you agree with me? Look, you have no dog in this fight, Ollie. So let's get your opinions on this. Actually, are probably more valid than mine, because I am so tribal when it comes to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Do you agree with me that Chelsea's season is effectively a non-starter if we open?
I don't think it's a non-starter.
Wait, non-starter in terms of securing a top 5 finish, Champions League football.
So how low?
Can you go?
Chelsea we'll do that later. Mate. How low will Chelsea finish if Kepa is the keeper?
Well, I think.
Sorry. Yeah.
What's
the
I think
ceiling?
six. Six then becomes first. The best that you can do. The best. You've won the league that you can compete in if you finish 6. With Kepa Arrizabalaga, there is a ceiling as to how high you can finish, and that ceiling is 6.
Do you really think he's been that bad?
Yeah, he's that bad. He is that bad in terms of everything that you want from a goalkeeper. He really is. He really is that bad.
Wow.
He's just not fit to be a Premier League goalkeeper. Like, I don't really know what he's good at. You know. Even if you're a real detractor of David De Gea,
yeah, you
could still find.
Yeah, there's performances. Saves.
There are saves.
Yeah.
There are the spectacular.
Whereas actually, you're right. It's quite hard.
I don't know what he's good at.
It's quite hard to think of moments with Kepa.
I don't know what Kepa Arrizabalaga is good at. If you were to say this is his thing. So distribution's not very good. Commanding his area, absolutely not. Saves, no. Is he a frame? Does he fill the goal? No.
He's got quite cool hair. To be fair,
it could be handsome.
Yeah.
Again,
he's
not really a prerequisite of being a good guy. I don't care. He could be handsome. Maybe that's his contribution.
Yeah, there we go. One player that Chelsea are after is Moises Caicedo. Now, it's being reported that Brighton are wanting about 100 million for him. That's too much, isn't it? Do you think?
No, it's not.
100 million.
No,
and again, also you made the point that Chelsea need players you need that experienced head to drag you through games. How old's Caicedo? In his early 20s.
When we talk about this, I just have to almost just put out a disclaimer that we're talking about Premier League football, and therefore finances are completely bonkers. Okay. So everything I'm about to say is on the scale of bonkers finances.
I see what you mean.
But on the scale of it being ridiculous, I think Moises Caicedo to Chelsea and to Brighton, which is all that really matters. So, if people were to say, well, Tonali went for X, it doesn't matter, does it? Because Tonali is leaving AC Milan and going to Newcastle. Whereas if you look at the deficiencies of Chelsea, you think, what does Chelsea desperately need? A midfielder. We've established that on this conversation already. Chelsea desperately need a midfielder. Okay. So you want a top-tier midfielder to slot in to play alongside a World Cup winner and replace the likes of Kovacic and Kante. Right, so that means he's going to be expensive. Then Brighton, what does he mean to Brighton? They've nurtured him. They've got the best out of him. They've given him an opportunity in the Premier League. They lose him. So what is he worth to them?
Right.
And I think it is somewhere. Maybe 100 is too heavy, but
how
it's
high
certainly...
would you go? Is he worth?
I'll go 100. I don't care. I think we need him. It's not my money.
Is he worth more than Declan Rice? Who's
he's not. He's definitely not worth more than Declan Rice.
So
but he might be
difference.
He might be to Brighton, though. Like, Brighton don't care what Rice went for. To Brighton are going to look at this and go, you need this player. And this is another problem that Chelsea have done. Chelsea have boxed ourselves into a corner where it's so transparent that Chelsea's failings are in the midfield. Caicedo is so important to any prospect that Chelsea have next season. Mauricio Pochettino could well have signed his agreement on the prerequisite that a player like Caicedo arrives.
So he's really important, but you wouldn't pay more than Arsenal have paid for Declan Rice for him?
No, I would. I'm saying he's not a better player, and Chelsea could be ripped off. Okay. But you can still be ripped off and do the right thing.
And also have Chelsea... I mean, is that because Chelsea have completely shot themselves in the foot by putting out these ridiculous fees for some of these players?
Yes.
Yes, it's a Chelsea tax, isn't it?
No, there's a Chelsea tax. There's a Chelsea tax. There's also a Brighton tax. Tony Bloom runs a club in such an efficient... perfect way, arguably, right? I think you could easily say Brighton are the most well-run club in the country. So there's a tax on that. You're the lunatics in Chelsea, and you're doing business with the top tier of of football. So yes, there's a tax. But is he worth 100 million? No. Is he better than Declan Rice? No. But do Chelsea desperately need him, and therefore should we pay it? Is he more proven in the Premier League than Enzo Fernandez was when we paid huge amounts of money for him? Is he already clearly a better player, different positions, but a better player than Mudryk? Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's almost irrelevant what you, in your rational sense, thinks he's worth, because Chelsea need him.
Yeah.
And therefore we can be hung out to dry. You can, though, and this is the weird situation you can end up in, particularly with football, you can be ripped off. You can be drastically ripped off. You can be taken to the cleaners, but still have done the right thing. Yeah. And that's what I think Chelsea can do. Pay the money, get ripped off, be a bit of a laughing stock financially, but ultimately sign a player that you so desperately need.
Yeah. Are you worried, though, the last 2 imports from Brighton, if you include the manager as well?
Yeah, I am a bit.
Has not gone well.
I am a little bit.
Cucurella and Graham Potter.
I think it's a broader worry. And the worry is, look, there are some examples, obviously, but I'm now very cautious about players that have had one good season. For example, Cucurella's a good example.
Yeah.
He was Brighton's player of the year. Player of the year.
And he was brilliant. Yeah, he was brilliant in that year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But there are lots of examples of that one. Kepa Arrizabalaga was one good season in La Liga. Nicolas Pepe at Arsenal was one good season in Liga. So you do have to be careful. That isn't to say that you can't sometimes find these bargains. So yes, there is a worry with Caicedo, but everything I've seen about him, I like him at right back. He just looks like a Premier League footballer. Even you could even like lavish the praise more fondly and say he just looks like a Champions League player.
Rory, before we go to the break, one word, yes or no, have you forgiven Mason Mount yet?
No, I never. Just the answer is no. Sorry, I know you wanted one word here, but I never will. I am a man who proudly holds a grudge. Like, people don't do it enough in this country. I'm still angry with Beckham from '98. Like, I hold a grudge. I will never be okay with Mason Mount.